Today's guest is Gary Fisher. He is one of the most influential figures in modern cycling. Gary helped transform the experimental off-road riding scene of 1970s California into what became mountain biking, before spending decades challenging conventional thinking about bicycle design. From the Repack races and the creation of mountain bikes to suspension, progressive geometry, and the rise of 29-inch wheels, his influence can still be seen across the industry today. He remains a passionate advocate for innovation and for getting more people riding. Gary, welcome to On the Pedals.
Well, that was perfect. That's pretty much the deal.
Did it encapsulate everything? Because I feel like your history...
Yeah, it was broad and wide enough, I mean, for sure, and we're still doing it, like the dogma versus and then financial realities too. Oh my goodness, that shape things. Oof, it's not just pure logic or science. Oh no, it's emotion. Emotion rules. I like to say this. Emotion rules and facts are inflated and deflated to match emotion. That's the human. That's what we have to deal with. And we have to learn how to deal with our own emotion and how to deal with others' emotion. You'll be a lot happier.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. I feel like your journey in the cycling industry is something that's so innovative, everything. And you're always thinking ahead. And just from talking before we actually got onto the recording, your family has come from a really creative background. It sounds like you come from people who were involved in film industry.
Yeah.
And then you've channeled your energy into the bike industry. And I would be so interested to actually figure out how you decided to go that route.
Well, I got into bikes because it was freedom. And I was a kid. I was like 12 years old and I was small. I was 5'2", and I was not 98 pounds. I was 89 pounds. And I went on a bike ride with these other big guys when I was 12. And they said, you can't come. You can't come. Oh, I'm going to come. And I'd come along and they couldn't drop me. And we came back to the bike shop. It was about a 10, 15 mile ride. We got back to the bike shop. I said, oh, we'll let you in the club. We'll make you our club mascot. I started crying. I want to be a member or nothing. So that really started it. And it'd be rides. I mean, I'd do the 60, 80 mile rides with these guys on the Sundays, as a little kid. And they took good care of me. And it was a Brit from East London. He was a Pan Am mechanic, Larry Walpole. Oh, man, was he funny. He had so many good jokes. And that started it. That really kicked off my whole thing. It was that, and I loved the whole science of the bike and everything. It was amazing that a little kid could go and ride 80 miles. It didn't seem like a miracle to me. It just seemed it was totally possible. And because it was possible, I was doing it. But anyway, that's how I started.
That's kind of how, when you don't know the limit of what exists in cycling, when you can be that naively optimistic about what is the ceiling? I don't know what exists. I can just go out and do whatever.
Right. I'll just ride along and eventually you get there.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing. This is a miracle. You go wow, here I am.
And it sounds like from, you heard these guys, they were telling you, no, you can't go out riding with us. And you said, no, I'm going to come out riding with you guys. Were you somebody who always had that kind of tenacious character that you were just...
Absolutely.
Yeah, really?
Absolutely. I'd step into things, it's okay. There was a bike race called the Tour del Mars in 66. And a band named the Grateful Dead, they played. And I just barged right in to the whole scene. I lived with those guys for 4 years. I ran away from home. I was with Owsley Stanley, took care of him. The Bear. Jack Leary, Timothy's son, was my best friend. We were the same age. Janis Joplin kept trying to pick up on me. Mountain Girl was like, get out of here. She was she was an incredible talent, but man, out of control a lot. And that whole thing, Timothy Leary, and Ken Kesey hung out at his place a lot. And I was a kid. I was the kid of the whole group. I decorated the Jefferson Airplane Mansion, and I did a light show with a guy named Alan Cooper, who later went on, and he developed Visual Basic. He's the father of that. And, it's like we had, and Stuart Brand, I worked for him, the Whole Earth catalog, all that. I did all that stuff. I just walked in and said, hey, can I do this? And they said, okay. And, I had a lot of energy and, a lot of energy. I put a lot of energy into it, but then the thing, it all went sort of south. It was like, there was the Altamont Experience where the good old Rolling Stones showed up, and it was like, I had watched or Mick Jagger almost get killed that night. It was crazy, out of control. And I said, I'm getting out of here. And I went back to bikes, because that was really the therapy. And I was hooked up with another roadie. I wasn't a roadie. I was a light show guy. And at the time, I was living with a band called the New Riders of the Purple Sage. And it was great. I mean, the band would go on the road, and myself and two other people, we'd take care of the house all the time. And they turned me on to a guy named Charlie Kelly, who was a roadie for a band called the Sons of Champlin. The Sons were like an incredible band. They were musicians. They weren't popular, they had misfortunes on the road and things, contractual misfortunes that kept them from being like just total hits. They were incredible. And Charlie was their roadie, and Charlie rode a bike, and we had bikes. And in 1977, one of our bikes got stolen. One of my bikes, and we put out a poster everywhere, put out the word $500 reward. I mean, we put a number on it, right? Because a lot of people say reward. Well, what's that mean? Pat on the back, a dinner, some money, what? People want to know. And we put out that $500 reward and put it all over town. And sure enough, in 2 days, these kids show up with the rewards thing hanging out their back pockets, and hey, we found this in the creek. And then when we start questioning them and everything, they got nervous and ran. I didn't have to pay them the $500. Crazy, but got my bike back. Okay. Then a few months later, we had a major ripoff. Oh my God. There was a bike, a road bike of mine that I was road testing for Bicycling Magazine. It was $1,000 bike, $500 bike, $1,000 bike, expensive bike. There was, 2 clunker bikes, of ours, our personal bikes. There was Charlie's sleeping bag, and $100 bill, and Charlie's bike, full Colnago, nice bike, all can't be equipped and everything. They're all gone. Put out the $500 reward thing, and put out plastered everywhere, told everybody, and nothing happened for about 5-6 days. And then we get a call from who? The sax player from the band, Sons of Champlin. Hey, man, come over. You want to check this out? This guy's stripping this bike frame. They're stripping the paint off of it, in his backyard. I could see him next door. We go over there. It's Charlie's bike. Ah! We just run over there. Say, hey, these are ours. And the guy gives them back. And we send the cops over there. The cops come over, and then we find out, that this guy's a coke dealer, and he's flushed like a quarter ounce down the drain before the cop came over there, And he told us, we're pissed. Where's the parts? Where's all the stuff? We got all the frames from that guy. And the guy tells us where it is, it's over at this other house. And it's getting late. We'd been this whole thing was midnight, and we know where the place is. And Charlie and I go over there. We knock on it, and it's in the basement. We knock on the basement door. The thing swings over. Man, we just walk right the hell in. We switch on the lights, and this guy jumps out of bed. He's naked, man. Don't kill me, like this. And his girlfriend's in a bed, and we just take the bedspread. Oh, we'll take all these parts. We'll take all these bike parts all over the
Crazy.
room. And we just start taking all the parts and scooping them into the thing. And we say, okay, where's the sleeping bag? We want the $100. You're going to meet us in the parking lot of Cheloni's tomorrow. There's going to be trouble. And then the guy's father shows up and says, I don't want trouble with my kid.
Okay.
It hands over the $100 and a sleeping bag. End of the story. And man, I would never do that today. I'd be dead.
I know. But
You know, I mean,
me,
nobody had
yeah,
a gun.
You're lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
get them
Yeah,
back
no
because
kidding, man. I
funny
do
enough
not
thing that-
recommend this.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
and then I got
funny.
to say, you know, we opened a shop called MountainBikes in 1979. And we had a bike rack out in front of it. And one night, some guy decides to like take the bike rack and throw it in the window and take the bike in the window. Well, he does that. And you know what? We had insurance at that time. So we didn't bother putting out the poster or anything.
Okay.
Changing
Yeah.
the times.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
is. I think it's changed in that, like nowadays, bike thieves are becoming a lot more organized. Like there's a whole
Oh, yeah.
system around them. If they steal it, they'll be bringing it to somebody in another city close by. They strip it,
Right.
and the parts are online within a couple of
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time the parts will do better than the whole bike, but man, it's a lot of labor, you know, to do all that and post all that stuff and do everything. But man, yeah, there's a lot of hot bikes around. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that.
And so after
Ugh.
your bikes were stolen and you got them back, and you got back, you created the mountain bike basically.
Well, no, it's more like I didn't create off-road riding because, you know, 120 years, the very birth of the bicycle, there were no paved roads, right? So technically, no. However, the word mountain bike, yes, that was my creation, you know, and the whole, like, I call it the three-legged stool. You got to have a great product, a lot of hype, and then deliver the product. Okay, and then how this really happened was, you know, it went from being like and you find these local tribes, you know, like that they get the idea of let's ride off road. And this happened all along through history, you know, of 1, 2, 5, even as many as like, I think we found in 1947 some people in France, about a tribe, about 30 people, and they put together some really cool bikes, you know, and rode off road, you know, so it wasn't brand new, but it was like, you know, I got together with Mike Sinyard from Specialized, Randy Ross Bicycles, Ben Lowy and Ben Lowy would cruise around in a Rolls Royce down in L.A., and he was Univega and some other brands. And we all went to the Japanese and said, dude, you guys, and we went to both. There were two sides there. There was the Suntour group of their manufacturers and then a Shimano group. And it was mainly Shimano and a couple other people. And went to all of them and said, look, you got to hop on board. This is what it's about. We were open with the designs and everything. And they did it. They made the parts and they put a lot into marketing and sponsorships and made it a big deal. And then I worked really hard with my grandfather, my mother. Oh, they knew how to get publicity. Work with, you know, and I go with the ABC list, which is the circulation, go down to the biggest magazine racks and just go for the big ones first. No, not just bike magazines, but mainstream stuff. And I scored just a ton. And Mike Sinyard was super good at it. And so was John Kirkpatrick from Ross Bicycles. He was excellent at getting articles in the mainstream magazines also. Magazines, TV shows, all this mainstream stuff. Okay, so great product, a lot of hype, and deliver the product. We did all three of those things. Those things must happen, you know, and the hype is a huge part of the whole thing, you know, and then it just went by itself, you know, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and you build
we have a high. Well, it's also we build a hype like crazy, but like once you got people started, we have a highly addictive pastime, and it's good for you.
That's the key part.
Hey, I mean, don't forget. I mean, we get these days, the marketing has been more focused towards nuts and bolts, I like to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, and towards those people that already own 5 bikes. And like, and it's focused that way because you can, but that's not the good long-term thing. The long-term thing is we sell health and happiness. You know, the best salespeople I ever had, they tell people, I discovered this. I've never been so happy in my life. I'd love to share it with you. You've come to the right place. That's it. You know, that's the main emotional driver, you know, that you could have a good time, you know, and you're going to feel great. And your doctor's going to say, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Right. And true.
Was there a big off-road community in Marin County at the time that you were bringing these new kind of off-road bikes to the fore? Were there people very receptive to it, or did you have to like
Well,
go
there was, it was, it was really funny, you know, because you get people that say, they come back after a ride and they'd say, oh man, I wasn't expecting this. This is very, very hard on prejudices, you know. And then you had people that were already out there, you know, the hikers and stuff. I went out hiking with the Sierra Club people, you know, and those are like, you know, and after like half the hike, it's a 6-hour hike. I'd say, well, I'm one of these guys that rides the bikes, and they, oof, silence for a half an hour. Then we start talking, and
because they were the
that's
people
what
who
it
didn't want
takes.
you biking around there. Is that
Oh
correct?
no, man, they saved the mountain. They saved. You see, Marin County. And in the Brits, we like to, you guys like to say Marin County. Anyway, it's the birthplace of low growth. Sierra Club, Audubon Society got together and stopped the developers from Los Angeles that wanted to come and take the population from 200,000 people to 1.4 million. They stopped it
Mhm.
successfully. And, and it's been part of the problem, you know, and that we don't build enough housing. So it's, you know, we shot ourselves in the foot in a way. You know, and this county, 200,000 in 1970. Today, it's 250,000. Well, the rest of the Bay Area is tripled in population. So when
Yeah.
everybody wants to go to the beach, they drive through us and
Yeah,
paralyzes. Yeah.
but it's an amazing place as such, like, because of that, there's so much
Well,
open space for riding.
it is a
Yeah.
truly amazing space. Weather's incredible. I mean, it's just like I'm in the only cool spot in the nation at this moment, and the air's
Yeah.
clean. It's
Mhm.
really nice. You know, I
That's
can't.
fair.
It's, you know, I feel extremely lucky, you know, and, you know, I mean, we don't get to choose where or when we're born,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You don't, you know, so, you know, I've been really lucky, been able to stay here, and I've got kids and the whole thing,
And
and
is
they
that
enjoy
the
it.
area then where you built the Repack races? Because I've heard
Yeah.
about these iconic Repack races. You still hold the downhill record for
I hold the record,
the
but my
Repack
old
downhill.
roommate, Charlie, he was running the show pretty much. I helped him in to get prizes and on the call list, all that sort of stuff, but it and taught him how to do the timing in the beginning, which is just basic time trial timing, you know, real basic stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and it was a, but it was a hit. I mean, you know, there was like road races and stuff, but the regular population couldn't relate to it. But you know, the mountain bike was a perfect combination of two things. You had this rip, tear, shred adrenaline rush thing, you
Mhm.
know, live life, get close to death, this whole thing. And it's still that would draw people or make it seem like exciting and everything. But the reality was this, man, you get away from the cops, the cars, and the concrete, right? And you go out in nature and it's beautiful. And of course you have challenges and stuff, mountains and all that, but it's not death defying. You aren't gonna fall down as much, you know. So and those two things both exist. And actually like the gravel thing is more this, you know, going out and just having a big old adventure and everything and going out in a lot of places. So that has, you know, and it's partially generated by the fact that, like road racing has had a really hard time for two reasons. One, it has a competitor, Strava. You can go out and race any time, any hour you want to, right? And the other problem is road closures are incredibly expensive these days. It used to be much cheaper, but now it's so expensive. It's really difficult to put on a road race in the United States. So gravel is a great solution to all of that because there's just so many. There are so many more miles of gravel road than there are paved road in the States, especially the middle part of it and everything. It's just crazy
And
how
what do you
much.
think of how the off-road kind of sector has progressed from where you entered it in 1979 with mountain bikes? How do you think of like the progression from where it was back then to where it is today? You've got like the gravel industry that is totally booming.
Oh, oh, well, yeah. I mean, the the technical. I mean, while I'll tell you, the nuts and bolts aren't the most important part. Man, it's totally changed. Everything's
Mhm.
changed. You know, what I mean, even making a steel bike. Now we have air hardened tubing. We didn't have that before. You cook the tubing. Oh, you were done with it. You know, it was like, and now we have hydroforming of the tubes. And we used to use swedges and dies and all this stuff. There were a lot of physical constraints to that. Not to mention, the other materials. And then you got, the material thing is just like wild. And the way of handling everything has changed and improved. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it, and the technologies, I mean, man, there was some real serious dogma back in the day. I mean, I went to my first Japanese maker was Panasonic. It's a guy sitting, and they argued for an hour with me about a bicycle must have a level top tube. No, we had sloping top tubes, It is a mountain bike, like
And
they
that
accepted it,
that takes
but
a
it takes
particular
time.
amount of, like, creativity. It takes a creativity and, like, backing yourself to come into an industry where things were very rigid and kinda set in their ways, and you came in with a totally different outlook on it,
Yeah,
and you've
yeah,
now been part of you built up Fisher Bikes to be this booming company, and then you've
yeah,
partnered with Trek. And then so you
yeah.
have been part of, like, developing these bikes up until now that are, that there's definitely no, like, there's slope top tubes and all kinds of
Oh,
different technology
well, it's
now in comparison to what we had.
it's the minds have gotten opened up. There's a lot of people now with open minds that didn't exist before, and these are people that have their hands on the levers and knobs and everything. I mean, I can go to any country on earth, and they understand a lot more about what I'm talking about than what they did, 40 years ago. And part of that is that the world's changed. I mean, the communications are global now, absolutely, and you can find out really fast. And with the new man, ChatGPT, it just blows my mind. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, the answers you can get and how quick and everything. And then people travel and they see for themselves. That didn't exist 40 years ago. You didn't have that. And you've got people from all over the world. I mean, I tell my kids too, it's like, once you've done international business, you realize like there's smart and stupid people evenly spread around the entire earth. How do you figure it out? You talk to them and then you listen. They will tell you. you
That's
know,
a
right
good point.
there. I mean, that's it, but it takes time. It all
Yes,
takes
of
time.
course, yeah.
They had to be patient.
And did you meet a lot of resistance when you were first starting out and you were coming to people with these new ideas and different ways of imagining what a bike would look like? Did you meet a lot of resistance?
A bit, but not. I'm really good at convincing people and getting them excited, and that's always been, a thing I've been good at. And, I got to be careful with it. Yeah. Be realistic. And,
Yes.
because that's always, it's like, it's always, I always pay close attention to the bean counters, and work with them and everything. It's pretty interesting. Like my brother, he was like I had a partnership with him for a long time and it was great, and he's totally, oh man, mathematics, electronics at Stanford. Then he worked for Tandem as a hardware designer for 10 years. Then he went to Harvard, got an MBA, and then he worked for me. It's
Mhm.
like great, and like
Yeah.
the first guy I hired that we hired at Mountain Bikes an accountant, because we wanted to know, like, are we making money? We losing money? What are we doing? the whole thing. And I do spreadsheets and be Lotus 1, 2, 3 with my brother all the time, I loved it, every day looking at that stuff and see what the little numbers could do to things. So I I think I've been blessed with balance, that I'm not all this and I'm not all that,
Okay.
you know.
And in 1993, when Trek did acquire Fisher Bikes,
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did you all of a sudden get more freedom in the things that you could, that you could
Well,
create, or
yeah.
was it
It was wild. I did actually get a lot of freedom. I mean, there were some really, Dick Burke was fabulous, and then oh man, I'm trying to think of the guy. The head of production there was great. We got along great. We really communicated well. There are a lot of good things, but then things changed, and they try hard. It's interesting. I'm in a movie that's coming up about the Schwinn Bicycle Company. And actually, it's a well done movie, and I saw the rushes of it. It blew my mind. They went to, I think, the fifth generation until it really messed up, and it messed up Royale. But the other four generations had different qualities, and it's very, very interesting how they kept that brand going. And that brand, not so long ago was right up there with McDonald's, with Apple as far as brand recognition and everything. They've done an
Mhm.
incredible job. And, it's a it's a controversial movie because Lance Armstrong is a narrator, but I want to point out that Lance he reads from a script and he stays on script. So you're not getting his attitude or whatever in there. It's just they went high budget. It's a high budget film. They came to my house. Usually people come to my house and do a video, and there'll be 2 or 3 people. These guys had a real crew. There were 11 people, and they do things in the correct manner, the Hollywood manner, or movie making manner. It's a really good movie. The pandemic, and the whole bike industry made some
Mm.
big mistakes. I gotta say, made some huge mistakes. So the bike industry's in a mess. And bikes and, sales are actually very good, and people riding a bike is excellent, I mean, I take that back. No, even the high-end sales are amazing, They're super high-end sales,
And what
but
what do you think is the biggest mistake they've made?
they overordered the bikes. They thought the whole thing would go on forever. But, people the pandemic slowed down and they went traveling, and all the travel industry, paid, they charged extra. And, then they came back and they filled up the gyms. And the gyms, and we didn't expect that. It used to be gyms were mostly for a type of guy, and now it's like men and women, and it's a scene, and because it's a scene, it's popping. The whole thing is going crazy, so that took away too from the whole bike thing, away. And then it sort of spread out into different categories. There's a whole youth e-bike category, which like I know in the UK, man, they clamp it down on that one, like Super 73 and all that sort of thing. Man, they rule around here. It's crazy. And they're charging more money for them now. They used to be $900, and now they're like $2,700 advertised and on sale for $2,400. So it's reasonable, and when I talk to the people that make those things and they say, oh yeah, well, we fix the brakes, we fix this, it's materials issue. Because you make things that look like the real thing, and it's not at all. It's all about materials, metallurgy and all this sort of stuff. And it's a huge difference of, you know, of the quality. Will this last? Will it don't? And it's funny. Those guys as newcomers they have all these new categories. There's that. There's like a lot of people just riding a simple e-bike. That's the people that've been read the riot act by their doctor and everything. Then there's like the people that want to not just look beautiful, man. They want to look fabulous, you know, and they ride a bike. It's
Yeah.
happening. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and so it's
E-bikes are a
popping.
massive E-bikes are a
Yeah,
massive part of the industry that has,
yeah,
like, experienced this huge growth over the last few years. people, like you say, who want to look good, but also commuting. They're a massive part of commuting in UK and in Ireland. And
Yeah.
are you like on board with the e-bike boom? And do you have an
Well,
e-bike? Ride an
oh,
e-bike?
oh, yeah, I got a couple. I don't have an e-mountain bike, which is funny, but it's I just I just like the regular bike for that exercise part. Okay, whatever. But the thing is like we all like the fast delivery, especially food delivery in town. What do you get? You taking away all your good food delivery? You're shooting yourself in your foot. It's sort of funny. It's such an efficient way to get goods around and everything. And it is funny. Like the chief of police here, he says, if I start clamping down on those kids, the moms would kill me because I'm saving the mom one, two, all these 2 trips. The kid's independent on his own. And it's really funny. The kids will go around in packs and half of them will be on e-bikes and half will be on hardtail mountain bikes. And they all ride together. Why? Because they're friends. you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really funny. It's everything. And I see people, man, they don't know how to change a tire to save their life. There'll be a guy on a nice looking bike and everything and tubeless setup. And he gets a flat, he's on the phone, walking his bike because he can't even begin to change the tire.
Yeah.
Hey, I think pickleball next week, this sucks because he's gonna have to go in and spend $50 to get his front tire changed. And, put the
Yes.
glue back, put the stuff, I mean, I use tubeless myself, but I get a good hands. I know how to work on bikes really
Yes.
well. But man, I hate setting up my kids right now. I'm using these extra thick TPU tubes. Actually, I'm making some with really robust valves and everything. And I put them some rental bikes, a fleet of them. Man, it's been 4.5 months now, they haven't lost a single pound of pressure.
Wow.
That's what I want. That's the same
And
weight as a stupid bugle tube.
and you created them? You created these
Well, I worked with other
tubes?
no, I don't work on my kitchen that way. I work with chemists, people that know what they're doing, real experts. That's what you have to do these days. You can't yeah, you gotta be inspirational, learn the whole thing, learn their issues and everything, and work with them. And TPU, it's interesting. You could part of it's a chemistry thing. You can make when you get into these thicker, and they can be only so much thicker. I learned a lot about it in the last couple of years about how they're made. What they do, what the characteristics are, and that yeah, they could be recycled, but no, they can't be recycled in the States because there's no rubber factories here. You got to or no tire factories here. So, I
Okay.
mean, theoretically, you have to export them to another country and then recycle them,
Wow.
which makes it completely no, 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 that's not going to happen. So it's complex. Every single issue on earth is complex.
I know.
And that's why we got big fat brains to figure this thing out.
So
And
you're
real
you're
experts.
still
Yeah.
you're still constantly innovating and trying to find things that you can do to make the bike faster, easier, more
Well,
manageable
yeah,
for
right, right. Yeah,
for people
absolutely.
getting into it. And
Yeah.
where do you then see bikes progressing over the next, let's say, 10 years? What differences do you see happening in the bike industry?
Well, the big thing is just I want to see things get uh well, in a way they've gotten simpler in that now we have systems that will match up components, and like there's my friend in New Zealand that does he gets all the data from all the bike companies on earth on what components and things. And the next step is figuring out what things are compatible with each other. I mean, that's a huge issue right there. That is being solved right there, as we speak. But the bigger issues are just that stuff is really hard to work on. And for the regular lay person, just like I'm talking about, changing a tire, it's ridiculous. And having to pump up a tire like I do. I got a due to science, I got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I go to
Okay, wow.
scouting nights. Hey, we do bike night. 50% of the humans there can't pump up a tire to save their life. And now we use click system, more like 95% can pump up a tire. Big difference. I mean, my wife makes a lot of money as a doctor. There's no way she's going to flip this thing. Lever on there, and put everything between the spokes and get it on right with a lot of pressure, she will either get a cut on her fingers or 50-50 chance all the air gets let out. All of it gets let out. It's stupid. We don't we work with, like, who are the product managers? A bunch of guys that can work on bikes. They all work on their own bikes. You know, "Hey, guys, this stuff is a pain. People
Yeah, we
can't
need
do
to
what
make
you're
it more
saying to do."
accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, more accessible, that everybody could do it and feel safe on their bike, that's good. And then the whole bike safety thing, and the whole thing that's going on. Like, here in San Francisco, we've got a lot of driverless cabs now. Man, I prefer those over regular drivers,
Yeah,
like,
really.
oh, totally. Now, it's the first city in the nation that has speed cameras. Ha, ha, ha. San Francisco. So it's market, that and the Waymo cars, which don't speed, man, they slowed things down. That's good. That's a good first step, just slow people down so when you do get hit, oof. But, I was in Shanghai show. Unbelievable. Government's getting behind cycling there big time. Ooh. Huh.
And do you see a
Watch it.
difference
Oh,
in their
man.
cycling infrastructure versus San Francisco, for
Indeed.
example?
Indeed, yes. Number one, people don't speed at all there. They got cameras everywhere, dude. It's like 45, we're coming in on the highway. It's like a freeway, and we're doing like 45, 50 miles an hour in the cab.
Mm.
That's it. I mean, in the States, we'd be doing like 70, 80, seriously. And, and the bike lane is an entire lane, big concrete divider on it. It's totally safe. It's like so much safer. And then you see there's young people, old people, all kinds of people riding bikes. They come into the show, buyer, like just the public. It was huge. And then all these influencers, pretty girls, pretty women that are mostly road, and they know their stuff. They listen to them, and on the translation, it's like, God, she knows the product, and she's selling it. She's working, there'll be 2 or 3 guys there working on a, live chatter, answering questions, doing all that stuff. They work it, and they were like the old school companies there that would rip off logos and Western sayings and make stupid names, titles for their companies. And there were a number of bike companies, new ones, Chinese ones, younger people that get the whole thing, how to sell bikes and what to do and everything. And they're coming, and they're changing the game right now because their bikes are half the price, our $10,000 bike that is normally sold, a high-end road bike, mountain bike, gravel bike. They'll do the same. It'll be the same bike. It'll be $5,000. I mean, the same quality and everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like
Yeah,
we're dealing with
their revolution.
massive markups when they get to the European market. And
Well, it's not only. I mean, it's just what the markups aren't incredibly huge. It's just the price to start with isn't the price.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the problem.
Mhm.
And they've had to charge this. I mean, like it's all going to change really quickly. And I like to say it's the march of a million engineers. Where we'll produce thousands, and Europe will produce thousands, and the rest of the world will produce thousands. China's producing a million. I would like, it's amazing, and that's like, because I talk to, a lot of this stuff is driven by software, and the guys in the big companies, they can't it's really hard to get your German employee to work more than 35 hours a week. It's,
Work-life balance.
oh, totally, man. And it's like, in China, they're still working huge hours. In Silicon Valley, they work huge hours. Why? Because if you achieve this goal, in Silicon Valley, it's, if you achieve this goal, you're not going to make 100 times more money. You're going to make 1,000 times more. You're going to be in a whole nother stratosphere. And they work this hard. It's something. In China, they work that hard because they see all this change in a 10-year period, within their lifetime. And we don't see that. We see things sort of decaying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, wow. I just go, wow, incredible. Things are changing, and what are we going to do? I mean, I got kids. I got 6 kids. And I'm like, what's going to be the future, and we're
But it's
deeply
absolutely
invested. Yeah.
a question like,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody's asking themselves, but particularly like when you talk about, San Francisco, that you've got these self-driving cars and you think that's safer. I mean, these are things that
Oh,
haven't.
then a human so far. Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
Ireland. I live quite rural in Ireland. I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't have I'm on country roads, and I think a massive part for me is not having safe cycling infrastructure, not having, like you say, that physical barrier between
Oh,
myself and the
yeah.
car. We just have open country roads where tractors are speeding around, and it can be quite dangerous. And I suppose, like, you having seen all over the world, you're saying that you've been in Asia and now you're also in the US, and you see these massive differences between the infrastructure in both countries, and between the bike industry in general in both countries. Do you see America as being behind what Asia is doing, and are they going to catch up?
Oh, brother, there's no chance at this moment. Come on. I mean, kids, they don't, a lot of, too many Americans believe are entitled and don't understand the rest of the world at all. They'll like just argue to me to death about, what I saw in China wasn't real. It's like, whatever, and there's a lot of that. It's pretty crazy, but we're seeing things come back the other direction. And I'll point out, I mean, the women are taking over. Thank God, it's about time. I swear to
Good.
God. Not only in our industry, the bike industry. I went and I spent some time. I met the new head of innovation at Vittoria Tire in Milan. It's a German woman, and she's smart. Oh my God. And she put it together, this whole thing. It's nice, and it's like, hey, who's the prime minister of Japan? She's a woman, man. Punk, drummer in a band. Like, oh man, she's something else. You check her out. Check out her thing. Who's the prime minister of Taiwan now? A woman. Come on, I go on and on and on, and you listen to them, you watch, like I use the translators a lot and listen now these days. You can listen to speeches and things, and wow, that's intense, and thank God,
Yeah. It, obviously something needs to change. So I do think that, like, I also met at the Tour de France, I met the founder of Santini. Well, her dad founded Santini, and it's a woman as well. And like the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
differences they're making, acknowledging that there are more women in the sport now, and how they like the kit to fit them. And, it's just making it
yep,
more, like, going back to what we had said before, making it more accessible, and
right.
making it more welcoming to women as well, because you're missing out on a massive part of the industry if you aren't welcoming to women coming into cycling.
Well, yeah, I was a part of there was a symposium at Eurobike. Eurobike was really like less than half the size. It was tiny, compared to previous years, and it actually gave you a lot more time to focus on thing and meet the people you wanted to meet and have longer conversations. Things weren't broken into all the time. And a woman, Elsa Chu, and she does Anchor, and they invest capital in different companies and things like that, and it was really interesting. Met a lot of people that are just making it happen. Not waiting for permission.
Like yourself,
Yeah,
back when you
that's
were
right.
starting out.
Damn
And if
straight,
you were
you know?
if you were to think back on, like, going to an event like Eurobike and seeing the progression made in mountain biking, is there a company or a designer that you can see now as taking those kind of interesting risks that you took back when you were starting out, and that you keep your eye
Well,
on?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, at that show, the one that was showing that had all that had a great message was Canyon. They showed some incredible, cool-looking designs, and then they had a whole statement about, women, and I think it was about menstrual cycles, you know, and the whole science and everything. It's like, "Hey, it is a science, come on. It does make a difference, This is something, you know? Yeah, the part of that whole symposium to the whole women's thing was just about, the financial power of women, guys. And when a woman gets sort of like put off, she tells her friends all the time, come on, women talk all the time, nah, this shop, they're not going to help you. This shop will definitely help you. And it's like, I'm on a thing of like, the industry, we don't fit people around the world. I mean, the bike industry likes to fit people between 5'3" or 4" and 6'6". And if you take, I want to fit 95% of grown humans, and that's 4'7" through 6'1".
Okay.
And we ignore, this huge percentage of people. We make them fit bikes that don't fit. I'm going to try to
Mhm.
straddle bikes that don't work and everything. And we just like, oh, that's normal. It's no good.
Okay.
And to
So
me, I mean, that's just a starting point, you know?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and because that, and then the thing of like respect. How do you give respect? Time, listen, and respect people, and don't like try to, you know, come on, yuck their yum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point about women, in cycling that they do communicate a lot. They will say whether something was great for them, not great for them, if they felt welcome at a race or at a community ride. So I think it's something that the cycling industry, since I got into it, I can see it's becoming more welcoming, but there's still a ways to go. Yeah. And I'm
it's
curious
true.
now, you're still living in Marin County, I'm
Hmm.
assuming. So do you
Oh yeah,
still see people out on Fisher bikes? Have you seen them in recent years?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see them. I saw my dad at the park the other day. From the very first shipment we brought in from Japan. When I said to the woman, I said, "Is this your dad's bike?" She says, "No, it's my grandpa's bike."
So cool.
It's like that, but no, I see him around. There's a bit of a cult following and that sort of thing, but I'm coming out. I'm bringing out some new stuff, some new bikes and things like that. It'll be fun, and it'll
Cool.
be well. That's the whole thing. I just want it to be fun. I'm not gonna like compete with anybody big, or actually, I got some really good connections.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And how
But
does it make you see your name on a bike, somebody riding your bikes out on the tracks and the trails around Marin? Like, what does that feel like for you, knowing where you've
well,
come from? You've supported it.
it's like this. I see it all over the world. I'll see my bikes, and that feels good. It feels really good, and it's like the best reward I get is people say, "Man, this changed my life. Thank you very much." You know? And it was just what I was saying, the ultimate sale. Also the salesperson, what they're doing and everything is like, that's the ultimate thing you can bring along to somebody is something that makes their life better or they're happier with and everything. It could be a song, a poem. It could be, an appliance. This is the best can opener. I love my can opener. you know, Simple things like that or something. It's nice to surround yourself with a lot of simple things that you love. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've
That's a
helped
good
people,
thing.
you've
Oh,
opened up their world to amazing trails and places around the world that they wouldn't have been able to get to. So I think that says
well,
a lot about
they
the
have
brand.
good health, happiness, and, that side of it is the places you go and the people you meet. That's what really makes it. I mean, it's part of the whole gravel thing and all that. And then the adventures you go do together. That's great. You know, what else? I mean, that's about as good as life gets a lot of the time.
True. I won't keep
Yeah.
you much longer. I've got one closing
Okay.
question for you, and um, I suppose it's what does freedom on the bike feel like for you now?
All the choices in the world, but no pressure to make that choice in a way. And it's when things are rolling right and that whole the feedback all the time, uh, what you're putting into it, you're getting back. and all that. It's because it's like you still got to ride the thing, and that's what's the great part is the ride.
So true. The great part is the ride. It's a fact. So are you going riding today? Do you think that's on your agenda for the day?
Yeah, I'll get out. I probably
Nice.
I got a really old Bosch powered mid drive Trek that's 14 years old. That just I like it because it's got two different bells on it that have two different notes, and I can play sort of different emotions on it. It's funny. And then it just like it blends in and they're not gonna steal that one. So I take it to the city and lock it up. It's a cool bike because like, that's my favorite e-bike. And, we got a couple of e-cargo bikes, and they're sort of a pain in a way. I mean, I'll do it a cargo bike one of these days for the family because right now, I mean, it's a Euro cargo bike, and it's not quite right. I got I get different ideas for it to be more entertaining, more fun, the whole thing.
Well,
But,
it's been absolutely amazing, like, pleasure to talk to you and hear about all the
yeah, yeah.
ideas that you have for the bike industry. And I think, yeah, I can get so kind of you just get used to things being same old. But actually, it sounds like there's so much innovation happening right where you are in Marin County. So thank you so much for talking to me today. And yeah, it's
Yes.
been an honor.
Thank you. Very good. See you again.